tonight, giving victims a voice. The £3 million phone line the Commissioner hopes will restore trust in the Met, but Londoners let down in the past say it's not the whole answer.
We'd be better if we could prevent the crime and having the victims in the first place.
Also ahead, police identified 2 boys and their mother found dead at a house in South London. Falling short, fears the derailed promises of HS2 are failing the capital, and
may the force be with you. Black Lives Matter. To be or not to be, that is the question.
The new film putting Slough on the big screen. Good evening. When someone reports a crime, they want to know what action is being taken by the police. But the reality for many is a drawn-out process with little or no information from busy officers. Today, the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police posed his solution, a £3 million phone line manned by dedicated officers to make it easier for Londoners to access information about their cases. It's all part of Sir Mark Rowley's big plan to restore confidence in the force, telling a major summit this morning that he hoped their reputation would bounce back after a series of failings. But for those who have been let down in the past, it doesn't get to the root of the problem, as Anna Geary reports.
2 things that I want you all to see is victims saying, actually, the police are doing a better job, and secondly, we're catching more offenders. Those are the absolute critical things, and that will feed into overall trust in the Metropolitan Police sort of starting to bounce back and lift again.
Yeah.
Metropolitan Police Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley vowing to put victims' voices at the heart of his strategy. In a major summit, he told journalist Victoria Derbyshire that there will be a dedicated free phone helpline for victims of crime. The service is being funded by a new £3 million annual investment from City Hall. The Mayor of London explained how it would help those in need.
When a victim first contacts the police, they've got staff there to answer the calls, they're properly trained. You can get an update on how your case is going. You can be referred to a specialist service if you need particular help. But also, when you're about to give evidence in the court, there's proper advice and help given to you as well.
Everyone hear me, I guess, okay?
Support that may have helped rape survivor Jade. Speaking at the conference, she said there was a lack of care from police at the time. She is currently suing the Crown Prosecution Service after it admitted her case should not have been dropped over claims she had sexsomnia, a rare condition where people engage in sexual behaviours whilst asleep.
I feel very frustrated and angry about that. I did everything I could to ensure that other women were safe from him. So I feel like they've done a real injustice to me, but for every other person in this city.
Despite her ordeal, Jade was glad her voice was heard today. But not everyone feels so optimistic for a better future. Jane's daughter Hannah was found dead in disused docks in Wales in February 2016. Jane had reported her missing the day before. An inquest jury found inadequacies in the Met Police investigation could have contributed to Hannah's death. Jane is sceptical about today's announcement on victim support.
We'd be better if we could prevent the crime and having the victims in the first place. So, you know, with an ever-increasing population, we need more police officers, not less.
And with faith in the system shattered with former police now known sex offenders like PC David Carrick and Wayne Cousins, there are questions over whether victims will even feel safe coming forward.
Of course, those things shape public confidence, but the reality is our demand is going up, our phone calls are going up, more people are reporting crimes. What we need to do is do what we can, which is improve the service. And so that's why we're taking these steps.
The Commissioner admits more painful stories will emerge as the force tries to right the wrongs of its past, with a review due at the end of the month. But he hopes today proves a move in the right direction. Anna Geary, ITV News.
A mother and her 2 sons have been found dead inside a house in Belvedere in South London. Charlie Frost is there for us now. Charlie, what more do we know?
Well, it's been extremely sad here this afternoon. This is a relatively quiet street where plenty of families live, and just beside the house is a children's playground, and at the other end of the street close by is Belvedere Junior and Infant School, where both 9-year-old Alexander and 7-year-old Maximus went. Today the school describing them as loving and caring boys who had a real hunger to learn, saying both were model pupils, and it was clear that they were each other's best friend. And in the last few hours, other of their school friends have been visiting here with their families, laying flowers, telling me how sad they are, and that today they've been sticking notes to Alex's school chair saying how much they're going to miss him, and a note on one of the bunches of flowers left outside here reading, "We will miss you at school. Sleep tight, Mum and angels." And neighbours I spoke to saying they're understandably feeling very upset.
Upset, bit anxious, really disbelief, to be quite honest. Really can't believe that something like this has happened on your own doorstep. You do hear about it, obviously, in the city and further up the country, but not at close proximity like this. So it is a bit scary.
Well, what we know of what happened here is relatively little. Police say it was just before midday yesterday that they forced entry to the house and found 47-year-old Nadja Dejega and her 2 sons. All 3 had already passed away. Well, today forensic teams searched the truck in front of the house, detectives saying that they're trying to establish the circumstances that led to this tragic incident, but added that they're not seeking anyone in connection with the investigation.
Charlie, thank you. A teenager has been sentenced to 10 years in prison for killing an 18-year-old Afghan refugee. Haswat Wali was stabbed to death in a park in Twickenham 18 months ago. His older brother told the court they came to London from Afghanistan hoping for a safer life. His killer, who cannot be named because of his age, had been given a youth rehabilitation order on the morning of the attack for carrying a knife. An inquest has heard a 13-year-old boy killed himself after viewing and posting material about suicide online during lockdown. Zahid Ali jumped from Tower Bridge after getting off a bus early on the way to school in April 2021. His body was pulled from the Thames near a pub in Wapping 8 days later. The vice principal of his school said Zahid's death has been a massive learning for students about raising the alarm if they're worried about their peers. And police have released these images of a man they want to speak to after an 82-year-old was set on fire outside a mosque last month. The force believe the man poured petrol on the victim before setting him alight and walking away on Singapore Road in Ealing. The victim was taken to hospital and treated for severe burns to his arms and face. Next tonight, business owners in Euston have said they are devastated today after it was announced the section of HS2 that links Old Oak Common to central London could be delayed until the 2040s. A series of cutbacks and postponements were confirmed yesterday after ministers said soaring inflation had added billions to the cost of transport projects. The government says it is committed to delivering the service to Euston eventually. Daniel Henry reports.
HS2 is about getting people moving.
You ask anyone, everyone has the same opinion that nobody is happy.
But businesses on this street say,
how long? That's the question mark. We are losing the customers.
Harish has held on to this shop for 25 years. He says HS2 has completely changed his business model, and not for the better.
Even with the cigarette sales is gone down like 70%.
70%?
Cigarettes gone down, finished, because there is no customers around.
Ollie runs the opticians over the road. When he took over, it was clear that HS2 was coming down the track.
Do you think you would have gone for this shop if you knew that HS2 was going to take as long as it's taking?
No, I would not. I would not. So I know the politicians will always try and blame something rather than blame themselves. That's become the norm. The facts are, they knew this is going to cost a lot more. They should have had a proper plan in place that if this project goes up by 20%, 30%, it is digestible for the government. But obviously, it's ill thought from the beginning.
So what are we waiting for? Well, HS2 is meant to run from Euston to Old Oak Common in West London and on to the Midlands and beyond. Costs have risen, and the government say a delay will help them pay.
Well, the truth is that we have to respond to the economic impact that we've seen both with COVID and the ripple effect of Russia's aggression.
HS2 is over budget, but London's mayor says it could be Crossrail that ends up becoming overcrowded.
That you get a situation where High Speed 2 does begin eventually in a couple of decades' time, but the terminal is Old Oak Common in West London rather than Euston. So for many, many, many years, the only London station will be in West London. I'm not sure if Old Oak Common will be able to take the additional capacity. So we're speaking to the DfT, speaking to High Speed 2, and making sure we get good news rather than what we've had for the last 12, 13 years, which is bad news.
When it comes to HS2, businesses don't know which way to turn. But the delays are damaging, and on this street, ordinary people are paying the price. Daniel Henry, ITV News.
From one delay to another, it's been almost 4 years since Kingston's leisure centre, the Kingfisher, closed its doors, with the council promising a new state-of-the-art facility in its place. The original plans were expected to cost almost £40 million and included a swimming pool, gym, indoor play centre and cafe. But this week, the council admitted the estimated cost of the project had doubled, now reaching nearly £80 million, leaving uncertainty over when or even if it will open. Carolyn Sim has the latest.
It was supposed to be stunning and state-of-the-art, but instead of a shiny new swimming pool, Kingston is left with this. The original plans have gone from 40 to 80 million pounds, so the council have thrown them out and say it's back to the drawing board. Trouble is, they'd already knocked the old centre down. It was closed in 2019, and since then there's been nowhere local for people like Anna Gorrell to swim.
It's just really sad. We're in a London borough that's right by the Thames, and water safety is such an important skill, but we've got this whole generation now, like my boys, that are going to leave primary school not being able to swim and not having access to affordable swimming lessons.
The old centre was demolished last year following a row about repairing the roof. That would have cost just £5 million. John Tully quit his role as councillor last May because he believed the project was undeliverable.
Figures that we've been given on this started at 25 million, went to 40 million, then went to 53 million just before Christmas, and we're now talking about 80 million. That you can't quadruple or triple those prices without there being something that has gone very, very wrong. And people were challenged about this all the way, and people said you cannot knock it down until you know what you're going to put in place. And no listening, just a vanity project.
But Kingston Council insist a new centre will be built on the existing site, and they've earmarked £44 million to do it.
When are the people of Kingston going to actually have a pool?
At this moment in time, I can't say when the new leisure centre will be done. We need now our time to look at all options, and but we will do that at pace, but in a prudent way. And I fully understand the disappointment from our residents. Kingston is not alone. Basically all local authorities who do any major capital project at the moment, as well as the government, looking at it again.
Opposing groups within the council are now calling for an inquiry into what went wrong, and they want a say in what should happen now. Carolyn Sim, ITV News, Kingston.
OK, still to come, we've got the weekend weather forecast, plus I'll be chatting to the film director determined to put Slough on the map, and dancing their way to Westminster Abbey, we meet the Rwandans getting ready to perform for the King. But first, we all know how a smell or a sound can take us back to another time. For people with dementia, the impact can be even greater. The Museum of Brands has created memory boxes with food, household items and games from the past, specifically designed to bring back happy memories and help tackle loneliness. At Pepper Pot Care Home in Ladbroke Grove, they seem to be working, as Helen Keenan found.
Streams of green,
Sessions to stimulate the mind, including singing, art and activities for older people and those with dementia, run at this care home in Ladbroke Grove.
It doesn't make us feel that we're simple or we're going simple, and it helps us to boost our morale in doing things like this.
Anne was diagnosed with dementia 8 years ago. She's been coming to these weekly sessions for about a year with her son, Stanley.
She gets up for this. As soon as you mention pepper pot, bathroom, downstairs has a little bit of breakfast, and she's ready to go.
Yeah.
She likes pepper. She forgets a lot of things, but not pepper pot scent.
And do these sessions sort of help bring back lots of memories?
When I was at school, it reminded me when I was at school.
Now a special brand box will be used in these sessions.
We try to put objects in that are multisensory, so we've got something to smell.
And there's a reason behind having all this retro packaging.
Yeah, so it brings back memories basically from their childhood or growing up. So even without, the name or the logo, the smell, for example, that would bring back memories, the old packaging.
It's to encourage people to reminisce and has been introduced to those using the centre today.
Has that brought back lots of memories for you?
Yeah, the pear soap, the kitty cat, and which one again?
It's funny she says kitty cat because that's what they used to say rather than Kit Kat. That's what they used to say in those days, kitty cat. She's still saying it.
So it is bringing back the memories then.
It evokes memory and it's about retaining the memory. So I think I welcome these types of products. It's very important that they have these types of products that they can, that are tactile with, that they can smell, and to bring back good memories.
The boxes are being used in 16 care homes across London, and with dementia cases rising, anything that can ease the symptoms is needed. Helen Keenan, ITV News.
To sport now, and in California, Emma Raducanu is back with a bang.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Raducanu is recovering from a wrist injury and tonsillitis, but smashed through the first round in Indian Wells last night. The British #1 from Bromley only decided to play 20 minutes before the match after being forced to pull out of last week's event in Texas, but beat Danka 6-2, 6-3. She will face Polish player Magda Linette for a place in the third round. Jermaine Defoe has said the number of black managers and coaches in football is shocking. The former England striker retired from playing last year and is now coaching Tottenham Hotspur's under-18 team. He said he hopes he can inspire more players to move into the industry after a report found just 4% of managers in English football are black. And in the Premier League, Chelsea are hoping to keep up the winning streak when they face Leicester tomorrow. Blues manager Graham Potter said Chelsea's Champions League triumph over Borussia Dortmund earlier this week lifted a weight off his shoulders, but he's not taking his eye off the ball.
I'm not getting carried away, it's just 2 wins, so we have to focus on Leicester. And the boys have been in a good place, good spirit. They've stuck together through a bad time, which is good. There's a lot to say about that, but we have to start again against Leicester.
Now, getting Slough onto the big screen has not been easy, but the writer and director of a new film set in the town persevered, determined to show life in a dysfunctional Punjabi family.
जिस दिन तो मेरा विआह होया, मैं राज नूं नहीं देखिया।
आज तो सारे घर दे काम तू संभालने हैं।
पर मैनू तां घर दा काम कोई आंदा नहीं। साडे घर नौकर सी। I'm going to find Raj.
That Harry Beddy is back. I hope no one in the street saw you coming in.
I thought you'd be inside a bit longer.
That is Little English, and creator Pravesh Kumar is here with me now. That was a real labour of love, wasn't it, getting it to the screen?
Yes, it's been a long time coming. It was originally a play that I did many, many years ago, and Yeah, so it's been on a long journey. I'm from Slough, and I wanted to tell the story, and here we are, you know, going to cinema, which is unbelievable.
So take us through the story. What's the plot?
Well, look, it's very simply about a young Indian woman who gets married, and on the wedding day, her husband runs away. And I'm not going to give any more plots away, but someone else comes home, and there's a secret romance that blossoms in this house in Slough. And it's a really, I mean, it may sound quite serious, but it's actually quite a funny, romantic film with a real dysfunctional family, like all our families, I suppose.
Yeah, some big characters in there, aren't there?
Yeah, yeah.
Where do you get your inspiration from? Will any of your family members spot themselves in the film? Or is that lethal?
It's lethal to say, but they definitely will. And yeah, look, I mean, you write what you know. So all the characters, I know them, and I kind of put them together. And it's been years of developing the script, because it was a play, and now it's a film. And we opened last night to a gala premiere with an incredible response from an audience, and which is just brilliant, because you make this film, you know, with your team, and you hope people are going to love it. But when you hear the audience response, that's when you know, and it was just incredible.
Lots of laughs. I laughed just watching the trailer earlier. It's funny, isn't it?
Well, it still makes me laugh, and it's funny, but it's also quite. It's also got some quite serious undertones. You know, talking about mental health and other things as well.
When you're dealing with those themes, and it's a community that you're from and you care a lot about, how do you balance that and stereotypes, but also wanting to write something that's original?
I think you have responsibility. It's so rare to see a film like this. I mean, independent British cinema, you know, it's a tough old game. Getting something to screen is virtually impossible. And how rare is it to see British South Asians on screen? I mean, I've very rarely seen myself on screen. So I wanted to represent and be really authentic. So I've written from inside the community. I've used language like we would at home. So you just saw in the promo that there's Punjabi in the film, which is what we speak at home. I speak Punjabi with my mother. And I just wanted to tell something, a kind of unique part of British society, really.
Does it mean you can also crack jokes that only you could, because it's coming from a place of knowing and kindness?
I think you have to be really careful, because there's such less representation. You have a real responsibility. But yeah, you can poke more fun at yourself, I suppose.
We're almost out of time, but just quickly tell us, where can you see the film and when?
We're in selected cinemas across the country. We're in London at the moment. We're going to the chains. We are doing Q&As all over the country with me and the cast, and we're selling really well. So please go to the cinema and support British independent films.
Brilliant, professional. That pain was worth it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. On Monday, representatives from the 56 nations in the Commonwealth will be at Westminster Abbey for a special service celebrating Commonwealth Day. Over from Rwanda is a troupe of 20 musicians. Katho Pata reports.
Meet the Uru Teresa. Rwanda's national dance troupe. They're on a mission to protect and promote their country's cultural heritage, and today they're prepping for one of their biggest performances. Last year they performed for Prince Charles on Commonwealth Day. Next week they'll be at Westminster Abbey performing for King Charles. Are you excited to perform for the King?
I'm very excited. Here in London we are very excited to perform it, and we are looking forward to show our culture and learn from many other cultures from other countries.
The performance next week will be filled with singing and dancing, and also a bit of warrior action.
Yeah, I'm one of Ruchiriza National Ballet. I'm a dancer, warfare of Rwanda. We present traditional warriors. Well, the movement symbolizes how traditional warriors fight.
There's no hiding from these warriors, and it didn't take long before I was dragged into battle. And if you're thinking of trying out some of these moves, be sure to wear loose clothing. Oh, yeah. Kath Opata, ITV News, Rwandan Embassy.
I'm not actually sure if I should say this, but that is the second time that Kath has split his trousers this week. The other time was playing basketball for an item. I should probably explain that. Right, on to the weekend weather now. Let's have a look at the forecast, because it has been wet and windy, hasn't it? Here's Chris Page.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV London Weekend Weather.
Hello there. Very good evening to you. The weather roller coaster has been with us through much of this week, seeing wintry showers at times, rain, sleet and snow for one or two of us. But as we go through the weekend, we're still going to see some outbreaks of rain on Saturday, brighter for all on Sunday, but gradually turning that bit milder too. Temperatures could be back up near 14 and 15 degrees by Sunday afternoon. Now, we do have this little system working its way in through Saturday. Now, that will bring more cloud, maybe some patchy amounts of rain, more snowfall for the north of the country, saying that, but then we're in between weather systems as we head towards Sunday, and that brings us much brighter skies. But you'll notice we've got this little low, which is waiting in the wings for the new working week. We don't need to worry about that just yet, though, do we? We've got some clear skies overnight tonight, a cold, chilly and frosty night to come, with the risk of ice around 2 on untreated roads and surfaces. Temperatures as low as -3, maybe even -4 as we start Saturday morning. A slippery old sunny start, though, to Saturday as we hold on to some bright skies at first. That weather front increasing cloud from the west, thickening up as we work through the afternoon, turning the sunshine hazy with some patchy outbreaks of rain across western areas, but top temperatures of 7-8 degrees Celsius. And that southeasterly wind still staying fairly light through the day too. Through Saturday evening, that system continues to clear its way towards the east, eventually pushing out towards the North Sea. Brighter, sunnier skies chasing behind by Sunday, and with the southwesterly winds, well, we could be seeing highs of 15 degrees come Sunday afternoon. But it doesn't last long. Still mild on Monday, but wetter and windier for all once again as we head into the new working week. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.
Valent sponsors ITV London Weekend Weather.
And that is how London is looking this Friday evening. We're back with the latest after news at 10, and Lucrezia is here next with the ITV Evening News. But from all of us here, thank you for watching and have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.